I saw a clip of you, and before I rolled this clip here, you were on the Patrick Bet-David show maybe a year ago, but there's a clip that's gone kind of viral recently of that, and we played just a snippet of it. Now, in all transparency for the listeners, our family are big fans of Patrick Bet-David. Both our kids all went to his Vault event this last year.
He's lovely.
And learned that Tom Brady, Mike Tyson was there. You learned a lot. We bought tickets for the whole team to go to next year's event already in advance. Like you just learn business stuff, and he's a kind of a steadying force in this.
Lovely.
But there's a guy on his cast that for whatever reason chose to attack you viciously. And when I saw this, I was like, that's my buddy. And why would you? So we reached out, and I'm like, you need to just come to Kansas City. So we the next day we flew you here and had this conversation. I want to play a clip from this because you responded in a great way and held your ground. And I'm not going to play forever, but you had this interaction that was aggressive. But 2.5 hours later, however long the show was, you guys were friends. You'd won him back around. And that's an interesting thing because you didn't have to flip the tables and burn the building down because you were wronged. He attacked you and it was interesting. He operated as if it was a guy with a guy and you want to start a fight.
Yeah.
Like you're trying to egg on a fight. So I don't know why he would try to start a physical fight with a woman. So it's just it's an odd thing altogether. But let's play a cut of this because I know when people saw this, we'll put the link to the whole thing down below to your YouTube channel. People can see it as well, like you shared it. But how do you handle this and maintain your cool in this debate style, even if you are attacked? Because most people watching this, they're heading into Thanksgiving. They're headed to different things.
Yes, interesting.
They might be in a situation like this with somebody that doesn't see the world through the same lens. So let's play. We just cut up a few segments of this.
I'm wondering for you, what percentage are you saying just to, as a comedian, to be hyperbolic and just to kind of throw stuff out there, and what stuff is actually factual and true? So for instance, I have a phone in my hand. This is a phone, and you can Google things with a phone. So Volodymyr Zelensky, a couple quick points. He's the same height as your boy Putin. They're both 5'7". He's not 5'4". Putin isn't exactly a giant, okay? That's one. Number two, I don't give two shits about the Muslims in the UK, but a quick Google search will show you that Muslims' population will double by 2030, apparently, and go from 6.3% to 17% by 2050. This is Google, Katie. I don't care. Thirdly, I just Googled pictures of UK police officers with guns. Apparently, they got a lot of fucking guns. So my question to you is, what percentage of what you're saying is hyperbolic, getting eyeballs, respect, we live in that kind of world now, versus actually factual and true?
Okay. Let's go from the start there. You showing me what a phone is and saying this is a phone, that isn't really the way to start an argument, because that's to assert that I'm stupid and don't know what a phone is.
Well, you're assuming we're stupid because we can't Google things that you say as a fact checker.
Would you like me to answer what you just said?
Sure, go
ahead.
ahead.
You're going to talk over me.
We could do either one. I could go either way. So, but go ahead. This is all you.
Is it?
Yeah, go ahead.
So starting off on that kind of tone, I don't think is necessary. You then go to your phone and say, I can Google this, like you've got the biggest penis on the planet. Whereas
you might have the biggest penis on the planet, Katie. I don't know.
Darling, I've got bigger balls than Caitlyn Jenner.
I actually believe you, Katie. I actually believe you. But go ahead.
You're so bad at listening. And then when you stop talking, you say, go ahead for just a moment in time. You can Google anything. Why don't you Google my name and see what it says on Wikipedia? Because you'll find out that I'm both a monster, that I'm bankrupted, that I have no background or backbone. You'll find out that I've bedded everybody in the UK. Many of those things won't actually be true. So just because you Googled something, that doesn't really make you Elon Musk, darling, does it? It just means maybe you can use one or two of your hands, probably at one side of your hand more than the other. It's had more practice. You then talk about Zelensky's height as if that's a fact because you read it. And that's a misinterpretation of itself, isn't it? Because just because you read it on Google doesn't make it true, my flower pot, does it? And then you also talk about the fact this old statistic, Muslims 6%. Walk with me, my flower. Walk with me through London, through Leicester, through Birmingham, through Bradford, and walk with me through Minneapolis, because you can call it 6% if you make that disparate in a population. But in the cities where they cluster together, you will find they have the majority. It's why they have the power. It's why we have have a Muslim mayor. It's why we have a Muslim housing association. It's why we have a Muslim police association. And it's why we have Sharia law in most of our cities. And finally, you managed to find a picture of a police officer with a weapon. Well done, darling. Have a gold star and do some more Googling. Maybe you could watch some Cartoon Network while we adults talk. Of course, there are armed response officers. I said that as part of my answer. But most police officers on the streets of the UK are not armed. Is that okay for you?
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
This goes on. People see this whole, deal, but he again antagonized in a way that if it was two men, he'd probably get punched. And it's interesting that Patrick, as a man in the room, wouldn't be like, you came to our house, you ended up rolling on the floor with my Doberman earlier, and it was great. But if he was biting on you, I would be like, hey, she's a guest in our house. Play nice. I would do that. But everybody that watches this would probably want to know, what were you thinking, there, and break this down for us. Because that's what I wanted to know. That's why you're here. Everybody was like, Katie, come and let's talk about this.
It's a crazy thing, because when you look at it, and I hadn't even considered until watching it there, there's just me, and then there's three guys that all know each other, work together. So there is just me. I was invited in to talk about, current affairs, update from the UK. And before this, that nothing happened, nothing went on. I arrived on time. I sat in my desk on time. And I think he just walked in whenever they were about to start. So there was no preamble. Everything was just fine. And I was being quiet while other people spoke. And it felt like he came in almost, when you get those little toys and you can you wind them up like a little clock toy, don't you? And then you hold them like this, and then all of a sudden you let them go and they go.
Yep.
It felt like that. What I don't know was what had wound him, because he got himself so wound that when it was, and it seemed organized to go to him. So I think he told Patrick or someone, I'm ready for Katie, let me go at her. And off he went. And actually watching it there more carefully, I see him side-eye Patrick right near the start. So a little kind of check that, I told the boss I'd go now. So here I go. Just check in with the boss. But it was a strange thing. One of the bits of advice I give people, if someone's going at you, maybe they're in your face, maybe in the heat of the moment, is allow yourself the space to not go, oh my God, this guy's an asshole. What's he doing?
Back
that you can almost see me do it, which is go.
Yeah.
So it's breathe, but it is listen. Okay, now listen to what he's saying and try and remember the point. So so when they so you're just going, okay, so first he said about this, the phone, then he said about this, and then he said about Googling. So that you're focused on what was said so you can respond to what was said. And all of that kind of showmanship of, this is a phone, and you're so stupid because you don't know what a phone. You just let that go. So he was talking about Googling. So it's that there is a physical movement you can see, which is, okay, here we go then. And it's kind of military, and it's kind of, because I could stand up and just go, Bosh, but that obviously isn't what would be helpful at that point. But I never realized it had quite the effect it did. And then towards the end, when I was speaking to him softly and allowing him to share a little bit of what might have upset him. And he said, well, maybe it is that you sound like an ex-girlfriend that I had that hurt me really badly. And I was like, there it is. And then of course, I want to help him repair the damage he's done to himself, because everyone deserves an opportunity to say, do you know what? I think I was just a bit of an asshole then. Can I just say, I didn't mean it quite that way, and we're all good, aren't we? And I'd have gone, we're all good. I'd like to have had more chance for him to be all right, because I don't really want to see him humiliated in the way he has been kind of globally.
Well, you defended your ground, but stayed calm and never, got out of character where you felt like you were out of control. You were still debating that and allowing that to happen. And then over time, because the show went on and they had other guests and you were talking on Zoom interviews and so forth.
It lasted a couple of hours.
He came around. I think there's just a great lesson in that, because you stayed calm, but also you didn't get beat up.
No, and just firm.
It was kind of held your space.
And just giving a little bit of jabs back, flower pot, my lovely, which is letting him know you won't get past me, son. But then also, I know, because I've been there, we've all been there. So whilst we're all talking about the other topics, he wasn't. He sat there thinking, I just made a bit of a douche of myself. In his heart, he knows. And he sat there thinking, that didn't go that great. He knows. I know
Well,
he knows.
he felt like he showed
Yep.
up at a gunfight with a pocket knife, and he's
Yeah.
like,
And I feel badly for that because
Yeah.
I don't want him to feel like that either because it's a podcast, for goodness sake. It's not global,
Right.
but
politics.
Another key point to that, though, you never got offended.
Never.
And so I think then people sit there and they operate then out of offense, and that's what allowed this thing to get reconciled. Is you held your ground without offense, and that allowed a connection.
I always say, I don't, because people have been offended by me for a decade or whatever, I don't give offense. You choose to take it. And I invite people to make better choices. And then the other thing people come at me with often, when they're being kind, but they say, I don't agree with everything you say. Like, I maybe agree with 60%, but I still love watching you. And the thing about that is, so what you're saying there is that you imagine we would agree on everything. I mean, that would be bizarre. But what you're actually also saying, and this is the harder thing to convey, is you're saying that when we agree, then we're both right. When we disagree, I'm wrong. So what you're right 100% of the time, that's crazy thinking, isn't it? Because I know I'm not. I'm wrong a lot. But agreement suggests you're correct. And so trying to help people slowly understand that without me being aggressive or, trying to be some sort of know-it-all or whatever, I'm just basically saying it would be crazy if we agreed. And even more, are you saying that when we agree, that's the correct way of thinking? Because that won't be right either. So it's now I've been afforded this opportunity to try and explain these things in slower time. And I know I'm really appreciative to teachers that are taking my stuff and putting it in classroom for their debate class. Because then all the kids can say, she's crazy, or I totally get what she said there. And I love that. This is an opportunity to gain people through conversation.
I love that. And I love, too, that on your YouTube channel, that you have these really short clips that make people think. Again, Katie Hopkins Official. But as I was going through these clips, I was like, wow, I've never thought of it that way, but in a very short,
Short way.
2 minutes, 5 minutes here. And like, oh, everybody could learn